the secret behind the U.S. Russia peace talks and what they're hiding. The truth about these peace talks. The U.S. Russia peace talks aren't about peace at all. They're about controlling global wealth, shaping financial markets, and deciding who profits while everyone else struggles. We ran this event through the Mass Media Decoder system, our MMD system, and the results were shocking. If you have money in stocks, gold, real estate, or your business, you might need to pay attention to this now, because if you don't see this shift happening before it hits mainstream news, you're already too late.
I'm gonna be late for work again. This is the fifth time I've been late this week. It's only Tuesday, man.
So stay with me, because the next few minutes I'm going to show you exactly how these talks are being used to shape financial and what you need to know about protecting yourself before it's too late. So the real problem, why this is happening now. If you've been watching global markets, you already know something isn't right. So the price of gold is spiking, and energy stocks are moving before any agreements have even been made. And private wealth firms are quietly shifting resources to resource-heavy sectors before the public even understands what's happening. And this is a massive problem for anyone who has money in the market right now. And if you didn't know that the heavy players invested in gold are starting to call on these gold companies, banks and gold holding companies, for their physical assets. They're saying, hey, let's make arrangements. I want my gold in my hand.
I was never in this for the money. But it turns out that the money was an absolute necessity for me.
Why? Because it's turning out that these companies don't actually have as much gold as they do having people buying the gold, which we could call illegal. So if you have gold invested somewhere, you might want to look at making a run, and I'm just saying this, on your gold and putting it in your hand for right now. So why? Because the moves are happening before any official policies are being announced to the public. And by the time you hear it on CNBC or Bloomberg, the people who made these decisions have already positioned themselves to profit.
I'm rich, bitch!
This is why everyday investors lose and financial elites always seem to be ahead. That's why politicians and the Nancy Pelosi crowd always have an 80 to 90% return on their investments, possibly because they know something. So today I'm going to show you how we uncovered the pattern before it became mainstream news, so you can start thinking like the people who control these moves. What the Mass Media Decoder found, the whoa moment going on. We ran this event through the decoder, our MMD, the only system that tracks hidden narratives shaping financial and political power that the general public can get a hold of. And this is where things get crazy. So key phrases are being repeated across the media outlets. Words like stability, rebuilding, and economic balance. Translation, this means a pre-planned financial shift is already happening. The stock market is reacting before official agreements are even announced. Gold has already started moving. Private equity firms are adjusting their portfolios. The same corporations who gained massive government contracts in past conflicts are now positioning themselves again. The MMD scored this event running through the media a 4.5 out of 5 for being a pre-planned economic realignment.
What? What?
So this isn't just a meeting. This is a structured financial takeover by power elite. And if you don't see what's happening, you're about to be caught in the middle of it. The solution, how to protect yourself from financial manipulation. Most people thinking they're making smart investments. But if you don't understand the real narrative shaping the market, you're just reacting to a system that's controlling your future. So that's exactly why we created the Mass Media Decoder system. It doesn't tell you where to invest. It doesn't predict stocks for you, but it does expose hidden influence campaigns shaping global markets.
I want more. And I know I shouldn't.
So you can make informed decision before it's too late. So here's what it helps you do. Detect media-driven financial shifts before they hit mainstream news. Recognize how political narratives influence markets and investments. And you stay ahead of economic moves that impact your financial future. If you're tired of watching your investments react to these events instead of predicting them like the elite do, because they're controlling some things, this is the exact type of intelligence used by financial elites to stay ahead.
I don't want to be. I want to spend my life savings on this. I want to abandon all financial responsibility and dump it in here.
And now you have access to it. Here's how you can get it right now. So if you want access to the Mass Media Decoder, here's what to do next. So click the link in the description below, or type in MMD in the comments and we'll send you a link to get instant access to it. So don't wait till the shift has already happened because by then it's too late. Let's get into data and proof about what the system, the MMD, uncovered running its data points. These are important things for you to know. So we're applying the MMD analysis formula to recent U.S.-Russia peace talks on Ukraine.
This is a fight. We are fighting.
We can assess potential psychological factors that indicate as follows. The first one looking at is the timing of events. This ranked a score of 4 out of 5. So the explanation for this is the initiation of U.S.-Russia peace talks coincides with significant geopolitical shifts, including the exclusion of the Ukraine and European allies from the negotiations. And so the timing raises questions about strategic intent behind the discussions. So this is a factor that is raising some high concerns. So number 2 is manipulation going on from the media and the discussion within these. It scored a 3 out of 5. And reports highlight Ukraine fears of unfavorable peace terms and feeling of betrayal due to exclusion from the talks, which we all can find a bit odd, potentially amplifying public anxiety and distrust within this. So also we're looking at something going out through the media, pushing these things is uniform messaging, and it gets a 3 out of 5 score with this. Multiple media outlets emphasize themes of exclusion and potential betrayal, suggesting a coordinated narrative across platforms. This means it's trying to create a narrative and a general feeling amongst people about how this situation is going. And being coordinated means somebody has an agenda, i.e. the same people making negotiations have their fingers in controlling mainstream media.
Oh my gosh.
Where's all your money gone, Donnie?
Taxes. Let me fix my houses.
Bug, it's okay. It's part of the game.
No, it's not. It's not fun.
It's not fun to what?
It's the worst part of the game.
Is what?
Taxes.
Missing information from this. So it gets a score of 4 out of 5. So the details about the specific terms being discussed in the peace talks are scarce, leading to speculation and uncertainty amongst stakeholders. Remember, this is about finance, this is about money, not necessarily about war, because war is money. So either way, these people are looking at how to generate finances from it. So narrowing down into, is this a simplistic narrative being pushed? It gets a score of 2 out of 5. While some reports frame the situation as straightforward U.S.-Russia negotiations, others acknowledge that the complex geopolitical dynamics going on, including European concerns and internal Ukraine sentiment.
I don't tell you what to do with your money. Don't fucking tell me what to do with mine, okay?
So it's not a simplistic narrative whatsoever. It is odd, though, that Ukraine is being left out of the peace talks concerning itself, and the fact that there is a lot of money and resources that are located in Ukraine, especially food and mineral resources. So then we get into something it looks at called tribal division. It gets a 3 out of 5. And this narrative fosters us versus them mentality. Of course, this is...
Let me see your war face. Ah! That's a war face. Now let me see your war face.
controlled thinking that goes on to get people behind something without actually getting them emotionally involved, rather than looking at what could actually be going on. And this is always the point of these things, is to keep you in the dark through riling you up through massive media blasts. So the narrative fosters the us versus them. We know this. And particularly between the Ukraine and its Western allies versus the U.S. and Russia. And this could potentially cause deepening divisions.
I'm not afraid anymore. Do you hear me? I'm not afraid anymore.
And then we have something called authority overload, where the MMD looks at, and it gets a 3 out of 5 score on this. So statements from high-ranking officials such as U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and President Donald Trump, they dominate the discourse, potentially overshadowing alternative perspectives. This is in the news. So the next one is call for urgent action. Well, this only gets a score of 2 out of 5. So while these talks are portrayed as critical, there is no immediate call for public action. That means you and me getting involved in things. And so it's focusing instead on diplomatic negotiations which you could call a roundtable of people trying to figure out how they're going to profit from this, and not including you possibly in on that deal. That's why the MMD is so important in determining these factors, so that you can determine if somebody is trying to control the narrative in their favor, and then you make good decisions from there. So the overuse of something called novelty, it gets a score of 3 out of 5. So the exclusion of the Ukraine and European allies from the peace talks is presented as an unprecedented move.
Let me tell you something, yeah. I don't know who you are. I'm suspicious. Yeah, I am.
And it's highlighting a significant departure from traditional diplomatic processes. So you got to evaluate this situation as to what's really going on here. It seems like you're having talks between Russia and America on who is going to financially benefit from the Ukraine. Of course, America wants to get its hands on that money, and Russia wants to get its hands on the potential money. Ukraine is caught in the middle of it all. Number 10 is financial and political gain. This now, as we take a good look, gets a score of 4 out of 5. And so the U.S. has reportedly proposed acquiring a significant share of Ukraine's.
Bought these. Bought this one.
About midnight.
This one.
Mineral resources as part of the negotiations, indicating potential financial interest influencing diplomatic decisions. And this could affect people investing in stock market and different companies that may be going into the Ukraine or have interest in Ukraine minerals. So this one here is suppression of dissent. So the score rating on this was a number 3. Ukraine and European leaders' objections to the talks are reported, but their exclusion from negotiation may limit their influence on the outcomes. Once again, U.S. and Russia, and it seems a negotiation or fight for who will profit from this.
Okay. Horrible!
Need to keep this in mind for your investments and your political ideology surrounding this. So false dilemmas is another one it runs through. It gets a score of 2 out of 5. The situation is complex, and while some narratives may oversimplify everything, there is acknowledgement of multiple stakeholders and interest within this. Keep your eye on that. And the next is something called the bandwagon effect. It gives it a score of 2 out of 5.
What the fuck is going on here?
And so there's limited evidence of societal pressure to conform to a particular viewpoint. Discussions reflect a range of opinions. I would say within this score, though, the ideology that the financial interest and the different things going on for stock investments, gold and such things are being left out of a lot of discussions is extremely important to take note of, and can be something that's being manipulated on purpose. The media wants to keep you focusing on something else rather than the real movements within wealth building by these large political strategies.
I'll make that deal. How about you, bitch? You make that deal?
I'd make that deal.
I don't blame you. Damn good deal.
So the next one is called emotional repetition. This gets a score of 3 out of 5. So themes of betrayal and exclusion are recurrent in these reports, potentially reinforcing emotional responses among audience. So the general public, that's you and me, what it wants you to do and it wants you to carry on is emotional responses around this situation.
You'll be shot for this?
Nah, I don't think so. More like chewed out. I've been chewed out before.
And not really focus or notice whether this is a financial move. And if you're in finance, if you're in business, if you want to protect yourself, you better start looking at this as negotiations almost between countries, but banks or investments. Get on the inside of how you think about this. Now, the next one is called cherry-picked data, where the MMD found it was a 3 out of 5. So some reports focus on specific statements or events over and over, which may not represent the full scope of the situation. That potentially is leading to skewed perceptions about what's going on.
Where are you going? I'm going to pick a fight.
3 out of 5 is getting on a higher scale. So logistical fallacies is a score 2 out of 5. While concerns are raised, most arguments presented are based on factual developments rather than flawed reasoning. but they are guilty by omission. The next one is something called manufactured outrage. It gets a score of 3 out of 5. So the exclusion of key stakeholders, as we've mentioned before, has led to genuine frustration. And the media emphasis on that aspect may amplify public indignation towards this. So there is manipulation going on within this factor for some particular reason.
I ain't never had that ever happen to me. I'm trying to see what that be like right there. Look,
So framing techniques is involved in this, and it gets a score of 3 out of 5, which is still getting on the higher end. The narratives framing highlights the exclusion and potential marginalization of Ukraine and the rest of Europe. So this is influencing public perception of talks, actual legitimacy as to what's going on. So it's have a bit of instability going on here. The next one is called rapid behavior shifts. It gets a score of 3 out of 5. And the sudden initiation of bilateral talks, excluding traditional allies, represents a swift change in diplomatic behavior going on. And this is prompting adjustments in all the internal relations going on.
Look at all that shit. You really need all that shit?
The rest of Europe's getting left out of this particular profiting deal. Maybe good for the U.S., maybe good for Russia, but it's mostly good for the insiders, these deep investment people who have been manipulating the U.S. for many years, such as in 2008, when someone came along and bought up all the houses after the market crash.
Emotional damage.
So historical parallels are the next one the MMD runs, and it gets a score of 3 out of 5. And this situation draws comparisons to past instances where major powers negotiate outcomes affecting smaller nations without the smaller nations' direct involvement.
Do you speak any English? Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
So this echoes historical powers of greater politics. So we all know how this works. You've got all these agencies and people doing power plays, and they're just really cover stories or cover up for the political elite and the people involved in actually making money off of these large deals. And that's really what it comes down to, is the power elite making money off of whether it be war or whether it be negotiations like this or using tragedies.
Much to learn, you still have.
So the total score the MMD revealed was 54. So the final assessment and recommendations with this, with a total score of 54, there is a strong likelihood of manipulative patterns in the coverage from the news and conduct of U.S. Russia peace talks on the Ukraine.
Heard you got deported, dude. Bye.
So this is where you can use this knowledge to figure out what is really going on a personal aspect or on a business or financial aspect in determining this. All of this information used in an MMD is based on previous top secret, revealed military, alphabet agencies, ways of predicting and scoring events and things and how the public will react to it. And we've created this system for you, and find out how you can utilize this for your personal use as well.